Hello everybody and welcome to the Game Shed with me, Jamie. This is part 7 of our Strider 2014 walkthrough, and we've just defeated our first Napalm Trooper, Tricky Little Sod. Much like your ordinary monkey bot, as I like to call them, but he throws napalm grenades at you, targeted as well. He can aim at you if you're hanging off a roof or off a wall. He will still fling a grenade in your general direction. So here's a nice little cutscene with a bad guy known as Solo, the yellow helmeted geezer with little pink canisters hanging off. Now he's just been sent to get me, and my task here is to breach the military ring. Sounds like a different game, if I'm being honest. So first thing to note in this part of Strider, part 7, is the colour of the enemies has changed. They have become red. Red denotes a stronger enemy, so don't expect to see those single slash yellow bad guys anymore. This simply just got harder. Red enemies take on average twice as much damage as yellow enemies, which is very shit, seeing as sometimes the yellow enemies can be enough trouble, especially if you combine a yellow sniper, a yellow shielded guard, and maybe 2 normal guards. When you combine all of those things in red, it becomes frightfully difficult. So as we proceed here, smashing up ultra strong turret guns, stronger guards, we also have to include our new double jump. Now this is being accounted for by placing lots of electrified surfaces everywhere, and what we have to do, we have to make our way over and above and around and underneath these electrified fields. So we shall use our double jump to get past this here gate, destroying anything in our path. So those of you who have played the original Strider, how are you finding the 2014 version? Are you liking it? Do you find it true to the original? Let us know. I'd be very interested to find out the general populace's opinion. Critics have basically very much applauded. Let me just deal with this Napalm Trooper. Yes, critically, this has been very well received, Strider 2014. Not too much complaining at all. I think some of the complaints that have been stated in the press have been very minor bits and pieces that, to be quite frank, they're being very picky. My only bugbear is the beginning, the very first level of Strider and the intro, you know, with him swinging onto the scene in his hang glider. The first level, very true to the original game. I most recently played the original on the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis, depending on where you're from. However, Stage 2 completely changed. Now, Stage 2 of the Mega Drive version, for example, was set in an Arctic kind of tundra and featured wolves. Now, this game has a distinct lack of wolves so far, and we're about 13 to 16% of the way into the game. Not one wolf so far. None at all. Now, I can tell you, there are creatures coming up that form sort of everyday part of the gameplay to mix it up a bit, because so far I think the newest acquired bad guy was the sniper. So that brings a total of normal guard, blaster rifle guard who has a spread shot, the shielded guard, and a sniper, along with those little helicopter bad guys, and I think that's all we see, along with turret guns. But yes, later on there are additional creatures, but you can stay locked to this channel for further parts of this walkthrough to find out exactly where they are, what they are, and how to defeat them. I can tell you that the next bad guy or bad creature that is introduced can very much mess up your day. It can ruin a perfectly good run very easily, and the game starts to become highly difficult and highly frustrating. And Capcom know this too well. Capcom stated in their press release that you will find yourself at some point in Strider 2014 swearing very loudly at your monitor or your television. Now I can tell you, with the inclusion of the next bad guy to be added, that's where my swearing started. It started with the inclusion of these new bad guys. Let's just say, think fast moving, multi-surface climbing, shielded things. That's all I'll tell you. So as we dispatch with another napalm trooper, it's probably time for me to discuss with you some of, I did mention it in previous episodes, but some of my favourite, particularly 16-bit side-scrolling games of this vein. I am a huge fan of this genre. Maybe I'll talk about 8-bit as well, actually, because I think one of my most treasured and youngest, or earliest memories, should I say, of getting hooked on a video game was actually in a game of this genre, which I still adore to this day, and that experience was Contra. Now, you may have played a version or two of Contra. It's out in all manner of name and format across multiple systems. In fact, today being, what's the day today? It's like Tuesday the 20-something of February 2014. It was actually a version of Contra called Contra Evolution, which has been out for several months, became free for today only on Android. So I downloaded it. I had a version on iOS device, but I thought I'd just grab it. That is how fond I am of the franchise in general. Now, I know Contra Evolution isn't the best thing, but one of my earliest memories was of a Play Choice 10 arcade machine. If you don't know what that is, search our channel for some of our videos where we do a kind of review of the Play Choice 10 arcade machine. It's effectively a Nintendo arcade machine with 10 games, 10 interchangeable games in it, and you pay £1 or $1 or whatever, and you have time. You don't have credit, you have a set amount of time, and you can play as many games as you want within that time period. Now, I used to stick £1 in the arcade machine when I was a youngster, and I used to play Contra, and that is where my love of this type of video games comes from. I found it very hard back in the day, very, very hard, but I've obviously played it since and completed it since, or beat the game, as you American guys like to call it. We call it clocking a game, or finishing a game. I don't think I know one British person who says they beat the game. That's just a little cultural difference, because I know the majority of our viewership is actually from America, so I thought I'd just distinguish that difference. So from Contra, I also used to play a bit of Double Dragon. I do love Double Dragon. Recently we've acquired it for the NES here at the Game Shed, the original. Moving on to 16-bit, all kinds of gems there, such as Streets of Rage, Streets of Rage 2, you know, Golden Axe, even to a lesser extent stuff like eSWAT, and what else do we have on there? Shinobi, you know, tons. Now, if you like my personal preference on what an amazing game of this genre is, absolutely amazing, you want to maybe maybe you want to emulate, or maybe you've got a copy lying around that you don't know about. We certainly haven't got a copy here at the Game Shed because we haven't been able to purchase one for sensible money, and we're not willing to waste some of our money. It wouldn't be a waste, but we can't really afford that kind of disposable income. It's Gunstar Heroes, made by a company called Treasure, and it's only out for the Mega Drive. There is a later version out on the Game Boy Advance called, I think it's called Gunstar Future Heroes. That's a fantastic game, but the original, the Mega Drive version, Gunstar Heroes, one of the greatest games ever, in my opinion. So here we are, we're fighting Solo. Solo is a very tough boss. He has multiple attacks. He is quite tricky to beat if you just try and go in for a pounding. If you try and pound him randomly, all you need to do really, look for gaps in his attack, learn his technique, and it does become quite easy. I'm going to make quite a meal out of this. It's not actually as hard as I made it look. So just watch the floor, watch his patterns, use your option C, your C option, to destroy any homing missiles. You should have a fairly simple time of things, I believe. So yeah, Solo. It's about time we had a change in bosses, because previously we had the Windy Sisters. We had some troopers, like monkey bots, as I call them. Nothing too challenging. This is the first time a boss really gets challenging in Solo. To be fair to Solo, he's by far the most arrogant of the end of level bosses thus far in Strider. He's you know, keeps on taunting you with such gems as, you know, you just heard, try harder. You know, I don't seem to be doing too bad. I've kind of matched him for health. There's a few gaps in his attacks coming up that can be easily penetrated, you know. They look quite daunting at first, but just look for gaps in the floor. You should be fine. And just keep on pounding the git. Quite simply, just dodge his very obvious pink glowing targets, and you'll be absolutely alright. See? Not so great, Strider. Well, really? Or is it you, mate? Is it you who's not so great? Yeah. So based on comments we've received from previous episodes of this Strider walkthrough, seems like a good number of you have decided to pick up this game. Let me know kind of how far along you are as well. How far along you are? Have you used this kind of walkthrough just to look at how to do certain bits and pieces, or did you use this to make your final decision to whether to buy the game or not to buy the game? I'd love to know. We'd love to know at the Game Shed. One thing we'd also love to know here at the Game Shed is if you are watching our second channel, TGS Next Gen, and if you're not, we want to know why. Why are you not watching TGS Next Gen? Currently on rotation on there are newer games such as Jazz Punk, and Mark is currently doing a walkthrough of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Wii U. So there'll be plenty of Wii U action, loads of next gen bits and pieces, loads of promos of new games. That's it. So that's TGS Next Gen. That's Solo dealt with. You get a silver medal for that as well, a silver trophy from PlayStation, and you get a new power-up, which is the Reflect Cipher, which allows you to swing your blade and reflect the enemy's gunfire back on themselves, killing them quite easily. So that's a very useful tool later on. And remember, whenever you get a new power-up, that will generally be the key to completing the next episode. So my name's Jamie, and until part number 8, see you later.